Hello and welcome back to another video on the F1 Journal and to my 2023 driver lineup predictions. Yes, it's that time of year again. Silly season is in full flow, and I thought a few weeks ago it might be quite a quiet one this year. But Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso have decided no, it's not going to be a quiet silly season this year. It could be quite a chaotic one. So let's get straight into my predictions. And we're going to start off with the current Constructors' Championship leaders, Red Bull and Jet. They've already got their driver lineup locked in of Verstappen and Perez for next season. And literally no reason to change it. They're currently dominating both championships. Maybe there are some questions over Perez and his form over the last few races, but on the whole, I'd say he's been solid enough this season. But yeah, after the summer break, does need an improvement of form. But even still, with helmet mark and that, I don't think he'll be replaced, especially now he has a contract until 2024. Moving on then to Ferrari, and that's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz also locked in. And yeah, after a slow start to the season, Carlos Sainz really getting up to speed with the Ferrari, and Charles Leclerc is the golden boy, and I think that's pretty clear. So yeah, I don't think there's any danger of any of them being moved out of the team next season. Not much else to say really about Ferrari. Definitely one of the most solid driving lines on the grid. I guess the only thing that could change it is if one of them just gets so filled up with the constant strategy cock-ups. Moving on into Mercedes, and yeah, once again unchanged, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell will be driving for the team next year. I think we can say Russell obviously starts off so well against Hamilton. Hamilton kind of came back into it, I think, once maybe stop testing setup. That kind of seems what happens. But yeah, no reason to change it. The only reason to change it is if Hamilton all of a sudden retires, but I don't think that will happen. A, he's got a contract for next year. B, he seems really motivated at the moment to get Mercedes back to the top. But anyway, now moving on to McLaren, and yeah, this is when things maybe start to change. Lando Norris, I think everyone knows, is pretty secure there. He's done such a great job there and is now on a long-term contract. The one question mark though is of course over Daniel Ricciardo. Will he stay? Will he go? The situation seems to be he's got a clause in his contract which means he can go if he chooses to, but McLaren kind of can't force him out unless they buy him out of his contract, and with all the money he's on, that seems like a very expensive thing to do. And yeah, just looking down the grid, there has been some rumours of Ricciardo going to Alpine, but personally I'm not convinced. I think it is going so badly, but yeah, I just don't think there's anywhere else, and I can see Ricciardo just clinging onto it for one more year, seeing if something can work. And how successful his career has been in F1 has kind of allowed in that time. So yeah, I can see Ricciardo clinging onto that seat for one more year before perhaps being replaced by an IndyCar driver for 24. Alpine, I'm going to say Esteban Ocon and Oscar Piastri. Yeah, obviously Fernando Alonso leaving was a huge shock. I think we all presumed he would see out his F1 career there and maybe go into an Alpine WEC program, but that hasn't materialised. Ocon's on a long-term contract, so I can't see him going anywhere. Plus, adding the fact he's been really, really solid this season. And Piastri, obviously he's had that year in the sideline, which for me is still absolutely criminal. Frecker F3 and F2 in a row and no F1 seat. Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. But it finally looks like Alonso going will open up for his chance and in a more competitive team than Williams, which was rumoured before. And yeah, he absolutely deserves it in the top car, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with it. Presuming, of course, he gets the seat, which I'd be very surprised he doesn't, considering all the time and effort Alpine have put into Piastri. Moving on to Alfa Romeo now, and I'm going to say Valtteri Bottas will retain his seat with the team. Obviously he signed a multi-year deal, finding some job security for him. There's no reason for him to go anywhere. There's no reason for him to want to go, considering he seems to be happy there. And Alfa Romeo, they finally found a really solid first driver on a multi-year deal, bringing experience to that team. So yeah, absolutely no reason for him to be dropped. In the second sheet, I'm going to say, currently competing for the F2 Championship, Théo Pourchaire will take the seat over Guan Yu Zhou. Yeah, this was a hard one to pick because Zhou, he hasn't had a bad rookie season at all, really. And for me, he probably does deserve another seat on the grid this year. But Pourchaire, he's finally getting some momentum back in the F2 title race, really closing the gap to Dragovic. And if he wins the title, I think he'll get the seat, to be honest. Alfa Romeo put so much time into picking him. For him to win F2 and then not get a seat over Zhou, who was kind of just brought into the team for 1 year, would seem crazy for me. So I think they would promote Pourchaire to the team, no matter how well Zhou does this year. Really, unless Zhou suddenly wins all the races for us for the rest of the season, which isn't going to happen. So yeah, for me, I think it will be a Bottas and Pourchaire lineup, which would be a really exciting one, I think. Haas, I'm going to go for an unchanged lineup. Obviously, Mick Schumacher is out of contract. Kevin Magnussen has a multi-year deal, so there's not much doubt about him staying in the team with his solid performances so far this year. But Schumacher, at one point, I thought he'd be dropped, and then he had that sudden upturn in form, and maybe there's rumours he'd go to Aston Martin, especially with Vettel's influence there, helping his buddy out. But in the end, with Alonso going to Aston, it looks like Schumacher will stay put. I think the Ferrari influence will see him get another year, plus his recent upturn in performances. No other alternatives. Maybe Joe if he goes out with Alfa Romeo for a pay driver, but I think I'll keep Schumacher. Moving on then to AlphaTauri, and I'm going to say another unchanged lineup. Gasly and Tsunoda. Gasly already has a deal. It's not been his best season in F1 to date so far. I think that's pretty safe to say. But he's still doing okay really. Protected most of AlphaTauri's points, and Tsunoda's definitely taken upwards steps so far this season. Still has the odd dozo moments. I'm thinking like Hungary, for example. But on the whole, he's improved quite a lot this season. And for me, he definitely warrants another year. There's some solid drivers coming up through Red Bull Junior Program in F2, but none who I would say are better than Tsunoda at the moment, so I think he's fine. Moving on then to Aston Martin, and of course that was confirmed the other day, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. I'm still in shock about Alonso's going there. I made a video the other day about it, if you want to know my full thoughts, but I'm shocked that Alonso went there. For Aston Martin, it's a great signing, for me an upgrade on Vettel, and a statement of intent with Stroll behind him. Obviously he's not going to lose his seat, but I kind of do feel for Stroll. He could be almost Van Dorn in this situation with how good Alonso is. For Aston Martin, let's see how it goes. Moving on then to Williams, and I'm going to say Alex Albon will be the guy in the first car. Not much doubt about this. He doesn't seem like there's going to be an opening at Red Bull or AlphaTauri, and not much else for Albon to go. He's done a really solid job at Williams in the first half of the year. So I think it's pretty safe to say that he'll be locked in. And replacing him, there's a few options for this, but I'm going to say it's going to be Logan Sargent. It did look like it would be Piastri for so long, but that now seems off the table with him set to join Alpine. Sargent obviously had a bit of a quiet first half of the season, but in the recent races he's really picked up in F2 and is now establishing himself as a serious title contender. And an American driver as well. The prospects of having that in F1 is so huge as well. So I think Williams would gladly have it on board. Maybe they will consider him not quite ready yet and will give him another season in F2, presuming of course he doesn't win it. And maybe give someone like a Nick De Vries, even a Guan Yu Zhou, someone like that, a 1 year stopgap solution. But for me, I would say his favourite at the moment is Logan Sargent, and they can be the first to get the American F1 driver in, and not just because he's American, but because he's a bloody great driver, as he's proved throughout his junior career. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and thoughts, comments down below. Follow us for daily F1 news and subscribe to my channel as well, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.